Welcome to Outside Views, where we delve deep into the stories shaping Britain and Europe. And today we're stepping into the British Brexit gallery of failure, a look at the turbulent years since the fateful 2016 referendum and the political chaos that followed. This isn't just about policies gone wrong, it's about leadership blunders, economic struggles, and the weight of promises unfulfilled. When Boris Johnson took office in 2019, he branded himself as the man to get Brexit done. For his supporters, he was a charismatic leader who could bulldoze through obstacles. For his critics, he was a hardline Brexit advocate, oblivious to the intricate realities of what leaving the European Union truly entailed. Johnson's tenure was a whirlwind of contradictions. While his government negotiated the UK's departure, the economic and social ramifications of his hard Brexit strategy quickly became evident. The Financial Times once reported a bizarre anecdote about Johnson's time as Foreign Secretary. When faced with facts he didn't like, he'd reportedly hum "God Save the Queen" and block out the information. And this cavalier attitude bled into his premiership. The so-called oven-ready deal he championed turned out to be anything but. The consequences have been devastating. Economic stagnation, a weaker pound, labour shortages, and an overstretched national health service. Businesses reliant on EU supply chains faced constant disruptions, while industries like fishing and farming, once promised a renaissance, struggled to survive. Johnson left office in 2022 under a cloud of scandal, with Partygate and allegations of mismanagement during the pandemic marking his legacy. Enter Liz Truss, whose tenure as Prime Minister in 2022 was so brief it inspired tabloid comparisons to the lifespan of a lettuce. In just 7 weeks, Truss' unfunded tax cuts triggered a financial meltdown. Markets recoiled, the pound plummeted, and mortgage rates soared. Her government's implosion underscored the fragility of post-Brexit Britain's economy. This was a country grappling with inflation, energy crises, and the symbolic end of an era with Queen Elizabeth II's passing. Her economic policies, based on a belief in aggressive growth through tax cuts, not only alienated the financial markets, but also revealed a lack of preparation and foresight. The damage to Britain's credibility on the world stage was immediate and profound. After Truss, Rishi Sunak stepped in with a promise of stability. A multi-millionaire and the first Hindu prime minister, Sunak's ascent was historic, but his tenure from 2022 to 2024 failed to revive the Conservatives' fortunes. Internal party divisions and an emboldened Labour opposition under Keir Starmer led to a historic defeat in the 2024 elections. Sunak's government faced accusations of being out of touch, particularly as ordinary Britons bore the brunt of the cost of living crisis. Despite attempts to present himself as a pragmatic leader, Sunak's tenure was defined by inertia. Efforts to strike trade deals with non-EU nations often resulted in minimal gains, and relations with the EU remained strained. And then there's the present. Kemi Badenoch, now leading the opposition, has admitted that Brexit isn't working. Her critique of previous Conservative policies is stark. The points-based immigration system didn't deliver as promised, and key initiatives like the costly Rwanda plan to deter illegal migration became emblematic of failure. Despite her calls for a new approach, her proposal suggests a return to restrictive measures that many see as politically motivated rather than pragmatic solutions. Badenoch's rhetoric highlights the ongoing identity crisis within the Conservative Party. While acknowledging past mistakes, her platform seems rooted in the same divisive rhetoric that alienated many voters in the first place. And meanwhile, Labour under Keir Starmer has scrapped controversial Tory policies like the Rwanda plan and established a new border security command. But challenges remain. Britain's global standing has diminished, trade barriers continue to strain businesses, and citizens are left questioning what the promised Brexit freedoms have actually delivered. Starmer's government faces the monumental task of repairing relations with the EU while addressing domestic crises. Efforts to re-engage with European partners have been met with cautious optimism, but trust once broken is not easily restored. Beyond the headlines and political maneuvers, the true costs of Brexit are felt most acutely in the lives of ordinary people. Reports indicate a marked rise in poverty, with 1 in 5 Britons now living below the poverty line. Food banks, once seen as a stopgap solution, have become a lifeline for millions. The NHS, already strained before Brexit, has been pushed to its limits. Staff shortages have become a persistent issue, exacerbated by the end of free movement and a points-based system that fails to address critical labor gaps. The promise of sovereignty has done little to alleviate these struggles, leaving many to question whether the trade-offs were really worth it. Economic experts have painted a grim picture. The Office for Budget Responsibility's recent analysis suggests that Brexit has shaved off significant points from the UK's GDP growth, and forecasts remain bleak. Small businesses, once touted as the backbone of the British economy, have faced insurmountable challenges. Exporters have grappled with complex customs procedures, increased costs, and diminished access to EU markets. For industries like automotive factoring, the combination of supply chain disruptions and rising tariffs has been nothing short of catastrophic. The cultural impact of Brexit is equally profound. Communities that once thrived on EU funding for infrastructure, education, and research have seen those resources dry up. Universities, long regarded as a global asset for the UK, have reported declining numbers of international students and reduced access to collaborative research projects. The arts too have felt the sting, with artists and performers navigating a maze of new restrictions to work and tour in Europe. At the heart of it all lies a fractured national identity. Brexit has left the UK more divided than ever. Scotland, where a majority voted to remain in the EU, continues to push for independence, although that's not going too well at the moment. In Northern Ireland, the fragile balance maintained by the Good Friday Agreement has been tested by trade disputes and political unrest. The vision of a global Britain, championed by Brexit proponents, seems increasingly at odds with the reality of a country grappling with isolation. And this is the gallery of failure we find ourselves navigating. From economic instability to political mismanagement, Brexit has exposed deep fractures in the UK's governance. Leaders who promised control and prosperity have instead left behind uncertainty and division. For millions, Brexit was sold as a reclamation of sovereignty and opportunity. Instead, it has become a cautionary tale of overpromised gains and under-delivered results. The broader implications of Brexit extend beyond the UK. Across Europe and the world, the British experience serves as a stark reminder of the complexities of disentangling from long-standing alliances. It has reshaped how countries view their own relationship with supranational entities. Yet, within Britain, the debate over Brexit merits and failures is far from over. For some, it remains a badge of defiance. For others, a symbol of lost potential. So thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the aftermath of Brexit. And if you found this analysis insightful, please like the video, share it with others, and subscribe to Outside Views for more in-depth coverage of Britain's political landscape. And let's continue the conversation in the comments. What do you think is the most significant failure of Brexit? I look forward to hearing your thoughts. And as always, stay informed and see you in the next video. One of them is right here in the end screen.